Good morning, and welcome to Life is Good Today. For life to work, I think it's important we understand the difference between agreements and boundaries. Imagine that I own a cattle farm and somebody next to me owns a farm also. Me and the other owner can have an agreement as to where my land begins and where his ends. And with that agreement, we agreed not to cross that boundary. That I'll use my land, you use your land, and so that agreement works as a way of saying we respect each other's territory. Now, if we have cattle or whatever and we're afraid it's going to get out, then we need to put up a fence. That's called a boundary in order to protect because the cattle don't understand an arbitrary line. They don't understand this imaginary line and not to go beyond it. So we have to put up a boundary. We have to put up a fence line to protect it. Well, in relationships, it's exactly the same. In a healthy relationship, you have a lot of agreements. Like Nancy and I have a lot of agreements in our relationship. In the beginning, we talked about what works and what doesn't work, and we respect each other. And so I feel like we really don't have boundaries in the sense of, of rigid lines in our relationship. I know what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. I love her, and I'm not going to do what's unacceptable. So the agreement works. The agreement allows us to navigate our relationship, and I'm not going there. She knows she's not going there because it doesn't work. And so we have agreements that keep us safe in the relationship. But if you're in a relationship with somebody who doesn't respect agreements, then you need boundaries to protect you and to protect them. So if somebody is consistently stepping into your territory in ways that isn't appropriate, they're obnoxious, maybe yelling at you, things that aren't acceptable, calling you names, any number of things could be physical. But you got to set boundaries to protect yourself and to say to them, no, this is no longer acceptable. And I can't trust you to keep the agreement. So this is the boundary with a set of consequences. If you do this, this is what happens. And that's really important. And oftentimes, um, people are afraid to set up these boundaries because they feel guilty. It's like, I shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't have to do that. Well, with some people, you do have to do that. A lot of people don't respect agreements. They don't do what they say they're going to do. And so you have to have clear boundaries. Like, in our relationship, one would be Nancy, don't grab her. If I grab her, there's big consequences for it. That is not going to happen. So I respect that, but in another relationship, maybe somebody wouldn't. So the idea is um, look at your relationships and examine whether you can rely on the agreement. If you can rely on the agreement, you probably don't need a bunch of boundaries. If you can't rely on the agreement, then you need boundaries. And boundaries have to have consequences. Otherwise, people just keep doing it because what's the difference? When my kids were young, I'd always ground them for when they misbehaved. But I'd always forget I grounded them, and so then I'd be driving to the show 3 hours later. So it didn't really work. The kids knew it took 17 groundings before I actually did anything. I couldn't even remember my own deal. I was just venting anger. So the idea is good boundaries keep you safe in relationships that can't or won't handle good agreements. And that's the word of the day. Thanks for watching Life is Good Today. Today's the only day we have. Um, if you haven't done it, go like my page, and more importantly, hit follow so you get these videos. And if you got any ideas you want me to talk about, drop me a line and we'll see if we can get to it. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye bye.